Hi everyone, welcome back to Too Cool for Middle School. Today I'm going to be talking about what we did the first couple of days of school, and I have a little welcome back PowerPoint thing that I show my students, and so I thought I would go through that as well. It just kind of has our procedures and stuff like that. I have a really old video kind of similar to this from 5 or 6 or 7 years ago or something, and I think I've kind of changed in the way that I do this kind of expectations stuff. So I thought it would be useful to do an updated version of this video. So this is my 10th year going into teaching, and I mean, it feels a little bit like my first year again because of all of the disruptions that we've had and being pretty much all virtual last year and not even finishing the year before that, and now just going in with different ways of doing things and just having so much that's unknown. So yeah, this is a weird year to get started, but I relied on a couple of things that I've done in the past that kind of helped out. So I teach 4 sections of 6th grade history and 2 sections of 7th grade English this year. So I have 6 classes altogether and about 184 students altogether this year, which is low. Normally I have over 200. We have a little bit lower enrollment this year. So yeah, managing that many kids and that many classes is really stressful. So I thought I would just tell you some of the things that I do to try to make it a little bit easier on myself. So on the first day of school, what I usually do is I make every single student a name tag like this out of different colors of cardstock. So each class period is a different color. It just helps me to keep track of all of my different classes. It takes a really, really long time to print all of these out, and then even to just fold all of them. So that's usually the day before school starts. It's several hours of typing in everybody's name, first and last name, and then just getting these ready to go for the next day. I will put this on Teachers Pay Teachers. It's just a PowerPoint file, but the dimensions are what you'll need them to be, So the only thing is that you have to get these 2 fonts because they're not standard fonts, which I guess is what makes it kind of fun. So this one is, what is it called? PB Blonde Roast. And then this one is KG Always a Good Time. So I just need to list that in the instructions for the Teachers Pay Teachers thing. But anyway, I'll explain these 4 boxes in a second. So I just put them in alphabetical order to begin with, and I just have my students sit that way. The first day of school is always a little bit confusing, and then this year it was way more confusing. We have a rotating schedule that's different every day. So on Mondays, it does just go straight through 1 through 7. But then the rest of the days, it's all different and it's not in order. There is a method to the madness, but it's really hard to figure out. So normally the 7th and 8th graders kind of have it down and just the 6th graders get confused. But this year, the 8th graders haven't been to school in 2 years basically. So it's been a long time since they've been on that schedule, so they got a little confused. The 7th graders have never done this schedule and the 6th graders have never done this schedule. So every single period I had kids coming to the wrong class, having to leave, coming in halfway through, some kids that just never made it. So it was much easier to just have all of their names in alphabetical order. They could come in, see if their name wasn't there, then I'm okay, well, you need to check your schedule again. This is probably not the class you have right now. And then they would go find whatever they had. So it was helpful for that if you have a weird situation like that. And then for me, it's helpful. I ask them to keep these for a month. So that's why I print them out on cardstock so that they're a little bit more sturdy. I need to see their name printed very close to their face. And of course this year, we're only seeing half of their face, so it's especially hard for me to connect names and faces. But this is the only way that I can figure out how to do this. So I do require that they keep these and they put them out every single day for the first month while I try to memorize their names and faces. For me, I'm very visual, and so I need to just see it And they're always like testing me, you know, like this one kid yesterday was like, do you know my name yet? And I looked at his face and I was like, it has an S at the beginning, it has an A-N at the end, there's a Y in there and an R. And he was like, yes, but what's my name? And I was like, my brain won't put it all together, but I know those letters are part of it. And so he had to remind me, but like that, I see the letters and I'm still trying really hard to like just get everything together. Also, you know, the majority of my students have a name that is a combination of letters that my brain has not stored in my head yet. So for me, it's just hard to recognize that combination of letters as a word for a little while. It just takes me a while to just like store that in my head as new information. So I need to see it over and over, you know, every day for at least a little while so I can get that down. And then I also have them pronounce their names. They just did a flip grid. I was just watching some of their flip grids, and I asked them to go home and do it where they don't have their mask on so I can like see their mouth while they're pronouncing it. So yeah, the beginning of the year is a lot of work. Like it's totally my responsibility to learn everyone's names, to pronounce everyone's names correctly, but you also have to like build in ways for yourself to be able to do that, because it can be quite difficult. So that's why these are so like important for me at the beginning of the year. I just have these 4 little rectangles where sometimes I'll tell them what to put in it, like favorite food, favorite color, something you're good at, and favorite subject or whatever. This year I just wrote a list of like random favorite categories and said they could just choose like any 4 things that they wanted, like just write down 4 favorite things in here. And they can also kind of color in like their first name here. I like that the first name font is like color in-able with their favorite color or something like that. So by the time we do that, we like kind of get to the right class, and I go through and figure out who's here and who's missing and who just might be in a different class and confused, and I show them the instructions and I show them an example, and then they tell the other people in their little group, you know, their name and their favorite stuff. Like, then it's pretty much time to go. So that's day 1. I don't get a whole lot more complex than that on day 1. So then on day 2, we go through like the kind of welcome back slides that I have. And I know a lot of people who do this kind of in like stations or sort of like, you know, like investigating the syllabus and stuff like that. I do find though that sometimes there's crucial information that the kids who really need it are not getting in that case. That might work with maybe a little bit older students, but sometimes I just need to tell them this is what we do here, this is how things work. And a lot of times my students are just eager to know, okay, like what is the information? Like, can you just tell me how things work and what materials I need and what I'm supposed to do when I walk in? Like, you know, it is helpful for a lot of kids to just like have the information. So I have this little welcome back slide that I thought was very cute. This is up while they're coming in and getting out their name tags that they need to still have from yesterday. Some of them forgot them, and then I can easily like pile them up on this table in the front of the room by color, so I know like which class to hand those out to if anybody left theirs behind. So color coding things is helpful for me. So this year it was especially important to have like a picture on the slides because they aren't really gonna see my face. So I was like, here's my face. So I made sure to add a picture to the first slide. And then I do another slide with a picture, and some of these things are more useful for like the parent back to school night. They're a little bit more interested in some of this information, so I definitely just recycle these slides for back to school night. I tell them a little bit about my hobbies. I think this is another good place to have some pictures where you can just show your kids the type of things that you're into. And then I was thinking a lot about this family slide, and I think that It would be really cool too to show like a picture of yourself as a kid, like with your siblings and parents. A lot of times they are interested in whether you're like the oldest or the youngest or the middle, or even, you know, with your family now, or if you live with roommates that, you know, you feel like are your family, use a picture with them or with your partner, or maybe kids, like maybe some friends' kids that are like you're part of the family, you know, like you spend a lot of time with them or whatever. Like I think this is a good opportunity to show that like family also can just be like people that you choose and the people that you're close to. Maybe you're really close with your grandma or a cousin or something like that. So it doesn't necessarily mean like husband, wife, kids, whatever. Like I think this is an opportunity to show like a little broader meaning of family, even though I didn't do that with mine. For sixth grade, it's also really important to go over like what they're doing. They haven't had like a history class before, so a lot of times they think we're gonna learn about like World War II or something like that. So I show them the civilizations that we're gonna go over, and then they can just sort of like picture in their mind what we're doing this year. For my English classes, I just gave them a bit of an overview. This is the first time I'm teaching English 7, actually, so I wasn't familiar yet. I'm not familiar yet with if there's like a novel that we do or like certain things 7th grade always does. I don't know, I haven't even gotten that far. So I think the beginning of class is a really important time. Like it's a really important time to just like set the tone for the class and get things started. And a few things can make that really hard or make it a little bit easier. So I always like to do my little like Lin-Manuel Miranda tweet coffee break thing. I have a poster up in my room. So this is, I usually, you know, I used to always have iced coffee. Now I just have like a ton of water. And this is a little harder because we're wearing masks, but I'll just like pull it down real quick and take a sip. But what we do is I'll say good morning, and they say good morning. Eyes up, hearts up, mind sharp, compassion on full blast. And then we take a sip of our coffee. Okay, let's go. Okay, let's go. And this prevents me from having to just like stand there and wait for everyone to be quiet, or stand there and like ask everyone to be quiet. You know, we just like get started with this, and that's like the clue to everybody that it's time to like pay attention. They have a little participation in it. They love to just like pretend that they're drinking coffee or whatever. And so it's just a more pleasant way to start the period than yelling at somebody to be quiet and like starting off with stress. Like I refuse to do that 6 times a day for the next 30 years. I will not. So this is a thing that we do. And then I always have the daily slides up, and we'll talk a little bit more about those in a second, but they should always look to those, and I just like explain them a little bit as we get started with the class. And so I know it's good for like students to take ownership of some of the rules and to like co-create some of the rules, but there are certain things that we just do. So especially after the year that we have had last year, and even how things are still going, we need some time for human connections. And so I don't let them take out their Chromebooks or have headphones in at the beginning of class. Like we will probably use their Chromebooks for like 90% of our class time. Now everything is like digital, but we start off with them always closed. They can be out, but just closed. And so that's just always a rule. It's really, really difficult to get your class started when like 7 kids have something out that they're like working on, or they have headphones in and they're really not listening to you. You have to like wait for everybody's attention and ask them to close. Like we just don't do that. So we don't have any Chromebooks out at the beginning of class. We will soon, but at the beginning, no, we're just gonna talk to each other and kind of check in and see how we're all doing. We start the day without Chromebooks or headphones. And right now, nobody's on time. Everyone's still finding their classes, but eventually it's just helpful for kids to be on time. I have other videos about daily slides and how much I love them and how useful they are for me, for kids, for parents, for all of us just trying to keep track of what happens every day. So I can link those videos, but we do daily slides every day. They show their classwork and homework. And so then as kids come in, you know, a lot of times they're like, what are we doing today? Are we gonna have homework today? I was gonna write that, They have 100 questions. That also stresses me out to every 45 minutes, like have those questions like hurled at me over and over. So a lot of these things, these procedures and stuff that we do are just to help me keep things streamlined and to like not have like fresh stress every hour. As a teacher, you kind of have to figure out what those things are for you and ways to just like streamline them and avoid them. Because if you're on edge as soon as you start teaching, things just, they don't go well. It's not gonna be good. You're gonna have behavior problems because like a little thing is gonna like set you off, and then maybe you'll overreact to that one thing, and it's not good. So we'll talk a little bit more about this as we go, but yes. By this time, it's been a few minutes and they need to do something. So they do get out their Chromebooks, they open their Chromebooks, and we join the Google Classroom, and I just kind of walk them through where things are. For a lot of them, this is the first time they've had like all these different Google Classrooms, because for every teacher, they have a separate one. So they're still getting used to that as sixth graders, especially. I go over grading, but this is something that I have to revisit. So especially for sixth graders, they haven't used PowerSchool before. That's what we use to keep track of grades. So the main thing that I let them know is that if they have a 0, it always means it wasn't in when I graded. It wasn't in the stack of papers, or it wasn't, you know, turned in on Google Classroom when I graded. It wasn't there, so that's a 0. I don't give 0s for any other reason besides it wasn't there. And this has enough of a effect on their grade that they actually notice it, they actually pay attention, and they want to do something about it. If I just leave like a missing little note or whatever, like there's a little code you can put for like missing, that doesn't elicit the same reaction. They're not as quick to take care of it if they don't see an actual 0. So this year, I'm just taking all late work for no penalty or whatever, I guess. So they can always turn in the late work. I do have like a Google form that they have to fill out, and they can link the assignment or say what it was if it's not linkable for some reason. And I will go back in and grade all of that late work, but not immediately. So you're gonna have a 0 for a while, and it's gonna reflect in your grade for a little while until I get to it. So it's not convenient for you to turn in a lot of things late, because your grade is just always gonna show lower than what it will, you know, once I go back in there and grade your missing work. So I don't know what to like really do about this, you guys. I found that last year having this like infinite late work policy, I don't know that it served students super well, because some of them just didn't really turn things in. But I don't know that if I had a different policy, they would have turned things in either. They just all kind of wait until the very end. I don't know. I think I'll have like a deadline where, you know, I don't take late work after a certain point right up until the end of the year. But I don't know. There's not a good answer. So it's just hard to justify like a late work penalty if they did do good work. A lot of times when they turn in late work, it's not A+ work anyways. Or if it's something from months and months and months ago, you know, it's just not even like a skill we're still working on or a chapter we're still on, and so it doesn't go real well for them anyway. My goal in life isn't to prevent every kid who turns in work late from ever getting an A, but it doesn't really happen anyway. So I don't know. I'm just taking it, but it's gonna be a minute until that grade gets in. I think I'll just have like set days, like, I don't know, once a month or something where I grade late work, because it becomes a real hassle. Well, and I guess it just also kind of depends on how much late work there is. If there's a ton of it, it's hard to manage. If there's only a little bit, maybe I can manage it a little bit faster. I don't know. So we'll just have to see. Okay, so then we do Chromebooks and headphones. So again, they're just not getting them out at the beginning of the day. It's just not how we do things. And we also have this policy like that's school-wide called professional courtesy. So if we are working on something online, which we almost always are, most of our textbooks are online and everything now, you know. So if I need to give them an instruction, I have a little bell that I push. So I push the bell and then they tip their screen, you know, forward. We call it half mast. So it's just like halfway. They don't have to close it all the way, but just tip it forward, take out headphones if they had headphones in, and take your hands off the keyboard. So then we do practice doing that at this time as well. And they just show me what it looks like if I ask for professional courtesy. And then this little rule is just non-negotiable. We're not playing games in class. So if I see you over there like this, when you're supposed to be listening to me or doing something else entirely different. Again, I don't really know. It's tough because I can't even really say like, you don't get to use your Chromebook for the rest of the day, because a lot of times just all the content is there. So again, it's just kind of on like a kid by kid basis. Like, okay, you're gonna have to just like come sit right next to me and I will look at your screen all the time to make sure you're not playing games all day. Because there tends to be a kid or two per period that is truly just playing games all day. It's weird. I don't know. I'm just like, really? Okay. I just talk to their parents, let them know they're not getting anything done because they play games all the time, and I'm trying to not let them do that. But again, I said this like in my video at the end of the year last year, I can't make 12, 13, 14-year-olds do or not do a whole lot. Like I don't have magical powers. If they're like intent upon constantly trying to play games, I can do my best to try to keep my eye on them and keep them near me and have policies and stuff and let parents know. But like occasionally, I don't know, it doesn't work out great. I do also have a policy that I need their screen to be bright enough that I can just see what's on it. Like as I'm walking by, like I just kind of walk around and scan their Chromebooks and just make sure they're, you know, on the right website at least. Like sometimes kids are confused and they're on the wrong thing. And the only reason that they have their screen super low so that I can't see it and so that they can play games. So I've had like a million comments like, that's terrible. You can't make them have bright screens because that's bad for kids' eyes and certain kids just can't look at it. Okay, I know, I get it, whatever, but it needs to be bright enough that I can just at least see what's on there so that I can help them. If they're still on the first question and, you know, most kids are on like a 10th question, okay, I can see that I'm gonna stay next to this kid for a few minutes and see what I can do to help them. So yeah, we're not having secret screens. It's just not something we're doing. Okay, here's another thing that I don't know, maybe not everyone will agree with. So we talk about how on 90% of the internet, maybe like 99% of the internet, you're not going to use your real name. You're not going to use your real face. You're not going to put any actual information about yourself out there. Maybe on like your, you know, if you have like a YouTube account where you're watching and leaving comments or something, you just have like a fake username and a fake little avatar picture. If they're on like Discord or whatever else they're on, it's smart in general not to have your real information out there. However, on your school Gmail account, that's what we have, you know, it's our district domain. They shouldn't be using this email address for anything else. You shouldn't use it to go like sign up for coupons or sign up for any different websites or anything like that. It's only to be used for school. It's pretty dang secure within our district. They have people who are making sure that we're not getting hacked or whatever, and if we ever do, they take care of it if there's like a phishing thing or whatever. But on this district email account, I want them to use their actual face. Their actual name shows up like on Google Classroom. It's actually not in their email address, but it shows up like, you know, when I see their Google Classroom stuff. And there are not things that we're hiding under this account. So if they're sending emails to me and, you know, somehow like your school emails got out, none of it should be anything that is gonna get you in trouble anyway. If you're, you know, if they're doing a chat thing through their school email, there shouldn't be anything in there that you are ashamed of anyway. You're only using this for things that you're proud of. You're doing your schoolwork. So when I go through Google Classroom and I'm like grading stuff, I want to see their face and their name, and then it's like their assignment. So like nobody else is looking at this besides me and their other teachers. And you're going to get a more personalized education when I can instantly remember like, oh yeah, okay, this is that person. This is like the only time I ever get to see their face, and it's like this big anyways. But I want to be able to just like see their face as a human for a tiny amount of time. Normally they're gonna have their masks on, so I need to see their face and their name as I'm going through their work. Or if they send me an email, like sometimes I can't recognize their name immediately. A lot of our kids have like two names and stuff, and different ones will show up on email versus like what they're called in class and stuff. So if I can see their picture, that's just really helpful. And so I want to be able to give them the most personalized education that I can, and those things will help a lot. I don't want to look at these weird, bizarre, like SpongeBob gifs all the time when I'm grading their work or opening their email. I just want to see their face. And as they get older and they will establish some kind of an online presence for themselves as they're like applying to colleges and stuff, and maybe they have some of their work out there, or like a picture of them like winning a spelling bee on Twitter or something, like you want to establish good online practices for yourself when it comes to school and work. Like when I get emails from companies who want to do like a sponsorship or whatever, if the person doesn't have a picture, and if they don't use a full name, and if they don't have links to something credible, I just delete it. I don't even give them the time of day. It might have been real, but I don't even look at it. So I assume that most people on the internet are like trying to hide something and trying to trick me or whatever in some way. So the more like transparent and forthcoming somebody is, the more I trust them. That could also be a scam as well, but I don't know. We got to start establishing good practices. Okay, so materials wise, they just need their Chromebook basically, and headphones are really helpful. I need to send like a parent email to ask everybody to bring headphones, because if we're like watching a video, like some kids might need to view it more than once, or like go back and see the closed captions as they're watching and take notes from it or whatever. Like that's kind of a accessibility thing where some kids just watching it like once altogether is not going to be enough, but we can't have a million Chromebooks going off all at once. They were doing this last week and I was like, okay, stop. Gotta put those things on mute if you don't have headphones. So those two things are pretty important these days. And then just like a lot of them didn't bring a writing utensil at all, you know, to like fill out these or whatever. So you need some kind of a pen or pencil rolling around at the bottom of your backpack, and some kind of paper somewhere just in case. I have a classroom library. I finally got that like book source website kind of figured out. It's not the most user-friendly, but at the same time, I think it is the most user-friendly website online that I've found so far. It's not great, but I think it's the best, if that makes sense. So you have to put in every single kid's name individually. I had my TA do it. And then like scan all your books, which that part's not so bad. You can do it with your phone. So yeah, we tried that out. We started it yesterday. We'll see how it goes. My bathroom policy is, if you gotta go, you gotta go. I'm not really gonna fight with anyone about going to the bathroom. Just go if you gotta go. But do not interrupt me right in the middle of something that I'm trying to explain, or in the middle of what somebody else is trying to explain. So like this is just kind of like a social awareness thing. Like you just have to wait for like a tiny little lull in the pacing, like a slight transition. If you just like, they can do their little whatever, like, and like, yes, the answer will always be yes, but do not shout out in the middle of something that we're trying to do. I have to go to the bathroom, can I go to the bathroom? No. I mean, yes, you can go, but don't do that. And we just have some safety stuff, you know, just with masks and trying not to touch each other, share things too much if you don't want to, and things like that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm doing my best to protect them and very proud of how they've been doing so far. So I think we're doing okay. That's just another stressful thing this year. I also have end of class procedures that just, you know, really aren't negotiable, because the end of class can be another one of those really like ineffective, inefficient times if you don't have some procedures. So I always tell them, like, I am excited for class to end too. I usually have to like go to the bathroom or something. Like I'm waiting for the bell to ring as well. So I will keep an eye on it. I'm not going to forget that the bell is about to ring. So I do not allow them to start zipping and closing and snapping and everything 5, 6, 7 minutes before the bell rings. Then we've just wasted all that time. We just don't do that. Nobody can hear when you're doing all of that. It's very, very disruptive. Sometimes kids finish something a little bit early and, you know, there are a few more minutes left, but we're not doing that. So when we have about 2 minutes left, I usually, you know, tell them, okay, go ahead and start packing up so that we can leave on time. And also they have to stay in their seats until the bell rings. You know, during that little time when we are packing up, like generally there's a few kids that like have questions and they need to ask me something. And if everyone is like standing up, moving, walking around, I cannot hear those questions that people are asking. So I need people to stay seated and stay fairly quiet until the bell rings and we are leaving. But those last couple of minutes can sometimes be really valuable for kids who have a few last minute questions. So you'll notice I didn't really do like behavior expectations and consequences and stuff like that. I'm just kind of waiting. I do really like the restorative practices. And so it's been a couple years, but we usually do like weekly community circles and restorative circles and just try to figure out how to solve a problem if we're having some problems. My 6th graders this year are much more immature than usual because they didn't have that like 5th grade year in person where they were the oldest and you gain a lot of that maturity, and they just, you know, haven't been around other kids for quite a while. So I'm seeing more behavior problems than usual. And it's just, a lot of it is not like malicious, but just like lots of talking, lots of interrupting me, lots of commentary about every single thing. And it is preventing us from doing what we need to do. So we do need to address it, and we do need to have common expectations for everybody. But that's not happening in every class. It's like some classes are fine and we're gonna kind of like proceed until we, you know, reach some problems, and we can definitely talk about those. A lot of times like a problem is really not a whole class issue. It's a 1 or 2 kids issue, and we need to have some time to talk it out with them and sort of figure out what we can do. I like the idea of like classes in general, you know, kind of coming up with some of the procedures and rules and stuff like that. But when you don't know each other, like when it's like the 2nd day of school and we don't really even know how we operate together because each one of my periods is so different, it's not going to go all that well to come up with those rules, I don't think. So kind of just like giving it a little bit of time, and as we get to know like the culture of each period, we'll sort of figure those things out. And like consequences wise, I'm less sure now about that kind of stuff than I was in the beginning of my teaching career. As I've gotten more experience, there's some kids that like, it doesn't matter what the consequence is, they're still gonna do the thing unless they have another way to deal with it. So for some kids, it's just like teaching them a different way to be. And a lot of things are just like problems that we need to solve, and you kind of have to like stop and talk to everybody and figure this out together. And that's like what restorative circles are good for. One thing that I kind of like about like restorative justice is that it like presupposes that harm is going to happen. Like, it's not unnatural for harm to happen in your class, like for some kids to say something mean or for things to not be going super well. And here's where we intervene and we try to fix that harm and try to figure out how to not have it happen anymore. So I don't know, I don't have like a checklist of things that I do for behavior and stuff anymore. And I don't know, maybe that's a terrible idea. I really don't know. But I have many videos about this, just about like, you know, restorative circles and restorative justice. And the book that I like is the Better Than Carrots or Sticks. I don't like group points and all of those types of things. I don't do like a classroom economy. I just want my students to care about each other and care about the class and do what's best for everybody. So I focus much more on that than like cutting out little dollars and having like rewards and stuff. So I don't do stuff like that. Anyway, my battery is about to die. I was gonna talk about a couple more things, but I think that'll just have to be in another video. These slides, by the way, are on my Teachers Pay Teachers thing. I will link them down below if they seem useful to you. They also just come with like blank headers, so you could just use them for anything. I'm gonna use them for instructions and stuff all throughout the school year. So there's that. I hope this video was somewhat helpful for you. I feel like I'm very wishy-washy about how things are going, but that's just, that's my true, that's where I am. That's where I am right now. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you later. Bye.